Well, good afternoon. I hope you all had coffee in the coffee break to get you through this one, because this presentation was not written using ChatGPT or any of the clones thereof. This is all me, so if it's incoherent, it's on me. The presentation is about change management and talent development in fast-moving times. And I'm really glad that I'm speaking at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, because this morning I regretted the Blackbird Sours and Plunet Spritzes from last night. So anyway, this is me. I think Sufjan already gave a pretty good, witty introduction, so I'll just move on. So I start by showing a statistic, which is, according to the Department of Labor of the United States, unemployment has gone up from 4% to 4.1%. Yet, in the language industry, there is so much talk of layoffs and the end of the world, basically. And it's just not backed up by statistics, because unemployment has barely moved. Barely. In the US. It might be different in certain countries. And we've seen that this is basically an almost historical low. The last time unemployment was this low was during the Vietnam War, in which hundreds of thousands of soldiers were at war and therefore not working in the factories, meaning that unemployment was perhaps artificially low. So almost everybody has a job. That's what the statistics say. But there is so much angst. I haven't picked up on any angst here, which is really good. Really good. But I have picked up on a lot of angst at other events. So maybe this crowd is a more positive crowd than the other events. What do you think? Yes. Yes. But there is a lot of angst. And I'm not minimizing what happens when your business model gets pulled out from under you, or you're laid off, or you heavily invested in learning something and then it's no longer required, or you did your master's degree in modern languages or translation and then being forced to do post-editing of garbage. So I'm not minimizing any of the things that are going on in the industry. But at the same time, every industry has its up and downs. The toilet paper industry probably doesn't. But oil industries, car industries, travel industries have their ups and downs. They have good years or good decades, and then maybe they have some horrible recession or something. And we haven't really had a bad year in the language industry for a long, long time. So we've kind of gotten out of practice. People would say the industry was recession-proof. And now, suddenly, it's a challenging year, and there's a lot of angst. A lot. This is really small text. I think one of the main reasons is the cost of living crisis. So, as I said, unemployment is very low, but in almost every country in the world, people are struggling to, do the things they did before with the same amount of money. And it's pretty much everywhere. I don't know of a country where people say, oh, there's no cost of living crisis here. Even in Thailand, people say, oh, Thailand was so much cheaper before. So I think that's one of the reasons that individuals are struggling, and it creates a lot of angst. Because, realistically, how big a raise can an employer give you? and this is, I don't know, I would like 15%. What am I going to get? 2 or 3 or 4 or 0? Yeah, exactly, because there's a really good argument for almost any employer in this industry to say no. They could be bluffing, they could be bullshitting you, but the cards are on the table to be refused. And yet, there's this feeling, and this is almost in every country in the world, that also the inflation that we are being told there is actually not true, that it's worse. This used to be a common discourse and feeling in places like San Francisco or Boston, or I don't know, maybe in Frankfurt in Germany, but now it's everywhere. Even in like small villages, people are moaning about the cost of living. And we've gone from being recession-proof to suddenly recession-proof and predictable as an industry to being, I don't know, vulnerable. Good thing though, is that we have the attention of the C-suite, the CEOs and so forth of many global corporations in a way that we didn't have before. So you're seeing articles in, I don't know, New York Times about language models and the language industry, and suddenly companies, big IT companies, are rushing to develop technologies and tools that we can use. This didn't happen in the past. I mean, before Plunet existed, I worked as a freelance translator with a word processor and dictionaries, and was translating birth certificates and driver's licenses and all those really sexy things. And so we've come a long way from that to where we are now. That's clear. And suddenly we're having a challenging year, and it's like the industry can't handle it, which I think is kind of silly, because every other industry, as I said, I mean, an oil company doesn't operate the same way when oil is at $150 a barrel and when it's at $50 a barrel. So we're kind of in that moment where we're not used to having a difficult year. And yeah, it's happening. Margins have dropped, company valuations have dropped, freelance linguists seem to be particularly upset. If you look online, it's very easy to find a lot of upset people. But yet, we just had a very interesting, difficult to follow, positive presentation about how we're going to reinvent ourselves, or how we have reinvented ourselves, or are continuously reinventing ourselves. Still see graphs coming from companies like Nimdzi, where the industry seems to be a predictable staircase going up. So I don't fully fathom the connection between the positivity of some and the angst of others. But we don't all have to think the same way. So this question, I think, is very valid. Is this all justified? Is this angst justified, or is it just like some mega jitters? I mean, there are literally people talking about the end of the industry, which it sounds like biblical, the end of the industry. I just don't understand where this negativity has suddenly come from. But there are other factors at play. We are not the center of the universe in the language industry. We're a freckle on the body of the global economy compared to other things. And there's factors at play that suddenly are, I don't know, draining positivity all around. Political factors, wars. I mean, there are wars that seem like they're never going to end. Almost 1 year ago today, I was in Kyiv, and the sensation at that time was that the war was never going to end. And that's exact same sensation I have today. So that is bad stuff, you know. There's also suddenly a rise of all sorts of isms that didn't seem to be so prevalent until recent years. Racism, anti-immigrationism. That's not an ism. Right, you know what I mean. Suddenly you're hearing this pro-one language discourse, you know, pro-English in the United States. They never had an official language for over 200 years, and now they do. You know, no, they're not doing anything about the cost of living crisis, but now they have an official language. And you can see variants of this in Europe, but to a perhaps lesser degree, like pro-French or pro-Italian or whatever. And the whole discourse that is surrounding us as a society seems to be just much more tense. People seem to, I don't know, people are angry about something. And it comes out in the industry, in our human relations, and of course in our politics. I'm going to very briefly touch on politics. So you look at these faces. I could even put George Bush up there, either of the Georges, and say, where are these people? I would do anything to have them back. I didn't think they were that great at the time, but I would do anything to have them back now. Where are they? Well, they're all either dead or having a very nice retirement, but probably very upset about the legacy that they left. Because it's a big generalization, but they were unifiers. And I think that some of the positivity could really be useful. So how does this impact on what I call the critical talent shortage? If the machines are taking over, where are the unemployed people? That's what I don't understand. Maybe the governments are lying to us and there are a whole bunch of unemployed people that they're hiding somewhere. Maybe. I mean, there's a lot of people vomiting up daily predictions about what's going to happen next. I can't stand it on LinkedIn. Every 2 or 3 days, someone spits out a universal recommendation about what you need to do. And this is going to happen to you. And they're just so certain of it. So I don't really want to talk about the future here, but I'm going to talk about the past and the present. And I see a critical talent shortage in our industry. Direly critical, I would say. So if you are a linguist, a talent shortage is good news. Because it means that there aren't a dozen of you knocking on the door of your employer for your job. That's kind of how I see it. It's not my intention to minimize the hardship that some people are facing. But the fact of the matter is that buyers of localization, translation, and interpreting, and language service providers or language service integrators or whatever the new term is, or LSCs, I don't know, but the companies, can't find talent either. It's a struggle, put it that way, and we're not willing to struggle in 2025. We want it easy. 4.1% unemployment in the United States. So this is a trend that I have been seeing for a long time. This is not new, it's just getting worse. So if it's get worse for companies, theoretically it should get better for workers, because companies will have to pay them more. So this is where the laws of economics have stumbled, because companies are not paying more, Or maybe they're paying 3% or 2% or 5% more a year, and the inflation is higher. But yet, companies can't find people. So how do you stack this up? I don't know. So let's look into the factors that are behind what's going on. Universities, like sit-down face-to-face universities, like the ones that we all went to, are becoming exorbitantly expensive in many countries, in particular in the United States. That is one of the factors that is contributing to a very sharp decline in the number of people studying languages in English-speaking countries. I don't know what's happening in Germany. But in English-speaking countries, in every English-speaking country, the number of people studying foreign languages is declining fast. Translation programs are closing at some universities. I visited the Middlebury Institute of International Studies in Monterey in California. Almost everybody who does a graduate program there is not from the United States. So the homegrown English speakers suddenly lost interest in learning other languages. It's really strange, because when I grew up, I wanted to, I don't know, Freddie Mercury was singing Barcelona and the Soccer World Cup, and I don't know, all this stuff was going on, and the languages just seemed like an incredibly exciting path forwards. So I don't understand, when did all these people who love languages suddenly take out their calculators and say, if I study languages, I'm not going to earn enough money to pay for my university degree. But whatever the case is, it means fewer human beings coming into the supply. So, in English-speaking countries. And if, I don't know, Brexit and lots of barbed wire walls with border guards on horses and lassos and all these things continue, there will be a significant decline in legal and illegal immigration to English-speaking countries for political reasons. So there's not going to be any relief there either. We're not going to be bringing in the people from New Zealand or Mexico or Germany or whatever into the United States. So this talent shortage is just going to get worse in North America. Well, sorry. Canada and the United States are completely different now. So I would just say the United States. Canada could get away with it. I also think that, where are the apprenticeships? Where are the internships? They're gone, because it's all virtual. It's not the same to do, as far as I'm concerned, there's no such thing, really, as a virtual internship. You gotta be there in the kitchen so you can have a Plunet spritz on Friday and ask the founder of the company some prickly question and learn from the answer. You're just not going to do that virtually. Well, I don't think you will. I will strangle my children if they decide to go to a virtual university, right? Maybe for a course, but not the main degree. But we may be moving in a direction where virtual universities are it. I don't know. It's funny. In many countries, Germans and Germany are perceived to have an extremely admirable work ethic. Very hardworking, organized people and country. I don't know if this is changing or changed, but I talk to people and they say, last generation, not this generation. Yeah. Maybe Berlin is where it's all changed. But the so-called millennial attitude is also affecting the capacity to simply get things done. If you're a millennial, you can ask me a nasty question at the end as revenge. So people want maternity leave and public holidays and all these things that they never used to get in the United States. Also, a significant number of people just seem to have disappeared. Like, I don't know where they are or what they live on or how they pay the bills, but apparently this so-called Great Resignation that took place during the pandemic involved a whole bunch of people just stopping work. Where are they? And what are they doing? Nobody knows. Living off their savings. But they're not working. I don't get it. So I sort of already covered this. But I think that the decline of legal and illegal immigration is extraordinarily significant. Because in the majority of countries, birth rates are declining below replacement rate. So in this particular case, you can see the outcome, because you can see Japan, where the population has shrunk by several million people, property prices have fallen through the floor, and so forth. And they still do not allow almost any immigration into Japan. Because I'm not a Japanese expert, but it's a reality. So that is another reason why we're short of talent. I mean, there's so many people in this room. Let me ask the question. How many people in this room work in a country that they weren't born in? So I wonder if we ask this question, in 20 years, how many hands will go up? Unless things change, right? So, I don't even need to talk about the trends that I see moving forward. I can just talk about the trends that I see right now. I somehow stopped my stopwatch, so I have no idea if I'm on time or not. Okay. I'll just keep going. So jobs are moving. They're not really being destroyed. There's a movie with Michael Douglas where he loses it and shoots some people because he lost his job at a factory making missiles or something. Yeah, some jobs are being destroyed and then they're being created elsewhere, just like wealth. And that could be particularly painful for an individual person. But the trend is that the job just moved. It wasn't destroyed. It's a misconception. In particular, technology doesn't destroy jobs. If you want to see which countries have the highest unemployment in the world, they are all the countries that have the lowest level of technological adoption. So Pakistan and several countries in Africa. So I don't fear the Skynet scenario where technology replaces us. But certainly some jobs are going to move south, like, I don't know, to Latin America or Africa, or east, to Eastern Europe or to Asia. But I don't see this creating mass unemployment in Germany or the United States. I just see the jobs moving and new jobs being created. But as I said, that's a trend for the population. It doesn't mean that the individual won't go through a shitty period if he or she loses the job at the missile factory or whatever. In the 1980s, a lot of jobs were outsourced, and outsourcing was a bad word, right? And a lot of jobs in particular, for example, in technology, were moved to India. but it didn't create unemployment in the tech sector in the United States by any means. So what we are seeing at TVO is an extraordinary diversification in terms of the wealth and depth of different roles that companies in this industry are looking for. So 20 years ago, I'm looking for a Dutch linguist. That was about as specific as it got. That was, I want a Swiss French linguist who specializes in mechanics. That was like really, really, really hard to find. Now, it's like senior AI linguistic engineer with 10 years experience. That is a unicorn that no one has ever found. 10 years of experience in AI, yeah. So we're seeing an extraordinary diversification. And I'm wondering, for example, at your company, you have all these roles that you mentioned that didn't exist 3 or 4 years ago. I don't know, an example springs to mind here in Germany of SAP. They had individual translators in Norway or whatever, Sweden, Germany, all these countries sitting in a room physically together translating in the 1980s. All these people evolved into managers and all sorts of sophisticated roles, presumably earning more money and learning a lot of new things in the process. So I just see it as a creation of more and more complex, more and more added value jobs. But the negativity of one person can be extremely loud. And I can understand that if you were a freelance linguist who had been translating the same stuff over and over, and you don't want to learn the new technology, it could be an extremely challenging moment for you. But I think that the companies are struggling to find the people. Plunet is struggling to find the people. Everybody's struggling to find the people. So I don't see this as a threat. I just think it destabilizes us in terms of what we are ready for. But that's it. That's the future. You're not ready because it hasn't happened yet. So I just say, bring it on. Bring it on. This is our opportunity to become a higher value, more sophisticated, more relevant industry. And if you gave me the choice of throwing all the technology out, smash the machines, and go back to translating those birth certificates and stuff, I would not go back in time. So there we go. I'm out of time, but I can take a question or two.
First of all, thank you very much for your presentation. Go for it. And now I'm really happy to pass on the microphone to anyone who has questions or provocative thoughts. Istvan. You'll stay, I'll come to you. Oh, you just want to go on stage?
No. Never again. So as I was listening to you, it's kind of like a lot of jewels in this, but kind of it didn't really become coherent to me. And being on the other side. So I think that what's very interesting is that you're obviously with TVO Talent, you're on the search side. So you probably know the demand. Whereas 2 years ago, I did a course for Gala, Gala Academy on Automation. And out of the participants there, 3 people lost their jobs out of 40 people more or less. 3 people lost their jobs, really highly trained, kind of linguistic engineer people. And what was very interesting is that they came to me to suggest something. I didn't know anything at all, what I could suggest. And for one of them, who was a product manager, to get hired, it took 18 months. Mm-hmm. For another person, it took more than a year. They were unemployed for more than a year. And for the third person, they still didn't find anything. And what I'm wondering is isn't it that there is a bigger divide now between the job seekers and the job offerers? Isn't it like a less personalized approach, because I mean, earlier it was easier for me to hire because I could also spot the people faster that I wanted to.
Gosh.
Sorry.
So did I understand you correctly in that you said the presentation was incoherent? Because
No.
I think it was.
No, just
I was
the whole
rambling.
point was that like all of these, like one is going for, the other is going against. So it's kind of like what I was failing to see is what I failed to see also in the workplace. So don't. This was not like an offense to your presentation, but more like.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I think that we are. We only have two eyes, and we see our local reality, and we could say something like, I don't have any friends who are unemployed in this industry. I have lots of friends who would like to be in a different job from the one that they are in, but that doesn't apply to this industry only. It applies to almost every human being. But we think our industry is so special that there are trends going on here that don't affect other industries, and you know, we moan a lot. But yet, there may be people who are struggling to find a new job, or certainly a job as good as the one they had, and I'm not denying that. And I think, and it's not for me to minimize the hardship that people can face. But there's also a lot of people who got jobs so quickly. They screamed on LinkedIn when they lost their job and very quietly celebrated it when they got the new job, right? A bad review. You want to check out a restaurant, go to that bad review. Why did someone give this restaurant a bad, you know, we look at the negative. But yeah, if there's people who are really, really talented and haven't found a position, then we all need to help them. That's a pretty incoherent answer.
Thank you.
It's hot up here. Any last questions or statements?
I'm coming for you.
So I am a millennial, but I'm not going to give you a spicy question. You're all right. Do you think that the onus then is on the industry, on our side, to take the risk with the technologies to then create the roles that are looking for the people? Or do you see it as being that the people need to be there for us to take the risk?
There's a movie with Kevin Costner called Field of Dreams where he builds a baseball pitch in the middle of his farm. Build it and they will come is his statement, and everybody in the town thinks that he's a lunatic, and then people come and play baseball. It's not a real story. It's hard to know. I think that, and right now, companies are facing tight times in terms of their EBITDA. So hiring a whole bunch of people to invest, for example, in what like Easy Translate is doing, it's not easy to finance that. And you know, I guess companies need to think about how many bullets do they have in their pistol in terms of the investments that they can make. I mean, can a company of 20 people have 3 people in the R&D department? No, probably not, unless they have really fat margins or, I don't know, VC support or something. So I don't know if it's that simple that you build it and they will come, and if they don't come, then you're out of a job.
Wasn't it ghosts that came in the film as well?
There you go. But if you don't invest and you're just doing the same old, then I think you will decline pretty quickly. For example, at TBO, our sales are level, but we have half the number of project managers that we had 2 years ago. All of the project managers that used to work with us have other jobs. But we managed to reduce our overhead through AI and automation and be lazy and think free plug. Oh, one more. It's getting hot on the stage.
You make me run.
Okay, struggling with getting your resources, because I think there are resources, they think we only have 2 jobs to do, or we translate, or we are post editors. And if we are post editors, we have to do more for less money. So everything for me, that is bullshit what they think actually, because that is not true. Because Frederick also has shown us today there are human AI, they are using people to do other stuff. Do you think that we have to learn as outsourcers, that we have to learn to sell the new jobs to the resources, to tell them what they actually should be looking for? Because the dream jobs that they have in mind, they don't exist anymore. The jobs have changed, functions have changed. Do you think that if we learn how to sell them the new job, that will help? Because I don't believe that they really understand these changes.
Well, that's a very big generalization that you just made. I think that there are lots and lots of linguists who do understand the changes. But there's, as I said, negativity spreads, and it just takes one person to poison the well and say, look, you know, I didn't do my master's degree to be translating this garbage. Well, okay. What are you going to do about it? Other than rant, right? Ranting is a popular sport. I don't know if it's our job to sell the new positions to people, or that people have to make their own journey in terms of retraining. This is, once again, this is a universal situation across almost every industry. We just believe that our industry is so special that it's only happening to us. But actually, our industry is at the forefront of a lot of technological changes. I don't know. Lawyers, for example, are dinosaurs law firms are dinosaurs compared to most translation companies in terms of the amount of technology they use. So we're a fast-moving industry. We're ahead of the pack, but people in the pack move at different speeds. And I thoroughly get it, that if you were about to retire and suddenly the rules of what you've been doing for the last 30, 40 years change, it would be extremely difficult to adapt. I don't know that we have to go out and sell these positions to them, but people will definitely have to make their own choices. And remember, Portugal's going to be one thing, Germany's going to be another, Argentina's going to be another. I said that in English-speaking countries, people are studying languages less. In most other countries, for example, I don't know, Brazil, Turkey, Argentina, Thailand, people are studying languages more than ever before because they consider languages to be their passport to the world. But if we're not going to let them in because we don't want immigrants, then they're going to be doing whatever they do where they are, and they're not going to be helping us with our talent shortage here. So that, I guess remote work will bridge that. But I think people will come to their own conclusions. It's just going to be tough. But nobody said it was meant to be easy. Nobody said it was meant to be easy.
I think that's it.